Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormy B-Man, and I am back. Welcoming you to Kung Fu Film Focus for this Friday, November 28th, 2025. We are here for the subject this afternoon, Kung Fu Film Talk number 1. What's your subgenre? Yes, we're going to kind of explore the genre of the martial art film because over time it has expanded. And as I look into what the subgenres are, it's amazing what I've come up with to understand what we take for granted and what we ignore when it comes to this mighty cinematic experience. I wanted to take the opportunity to explain the genres of the martial art film. So as we come in today, this is what it is. We're talking about this genre, which has produced a great deal of positive cinematic experience, but audiences have been drawn to particularities, and over time they have managed to present it to us as we have spent our money. Because typically when you talk about a Kung Fu film, you think about guys coming out, the Chinese fighting against the Japanese, or the swordsmen fighting, even Japanese samurai fighting. And then you have Japanese karate films, and you have other films that fall under that category that's kind of a mishmash of things. But to really break them down and discover what it is that you really like, what your particular tastes are, when it comes to this overall genre. It's very important to try to understand that, because some people will lump everything into one place like a big giant pot of gumbo. But when it comes down to the martial art film, that is not really the case. And we shouldn't really look at it so shallowly. You know, it really begs a greater bit of attention than just that. So know that today's show is, and you see I said Kung Fu Film Talk number 1. This is what we're doing. We're going to talk about it a little bit. I want to say thank you to anyone who has decided to check us out this afternoon. I also want to announce that applause goes around to everyone who has helped push Stormy B Man over the 300 mark for the subscribers of the channel. I could not have done it without you guys, and I hope that we can continue to grow, because this is something that a lot of us really enjoy. I mean, there is a tremendous audience for Kung Fu films. Excuse me, if you just scour the internet, you will find that there are people that love these films from all over the world, places that you may not even know of, but at the same time, places that are very familiar, and you wouldn't think that the audiences would be so deep. But that's why this film genre has survived since the 30s, actually, when we had so many introduced films of the wuxia genre, which is basically swordplay from the Chinese point of view. In Japanese cinema is referred to, I believe, as shambara, and shambara is the way of the sword fighting in the Japanese culture. And there have been tremendous films with noted actors and actresses playing roles of warriors, of samurai and ronin in the Japanese aspect. So, and please don't feel left out. If I'm talking Kung Fu films, I am including the Japanese martial art films in this show, meaning when there are times when I will be talking about some of those films because they are worth talking about, and there have been noteworthy contributions, not only to the genre, but the performers who were so skilled. I mean, many actors and actresses throughout the years, particularly, I want to say, even coming forward in the 2000s, the genre has gotten real solid. And that's something to take note and bear witness to. So, you know, we can all just enjoy what the genre has to offer from that standpoint. That's right. Good afternoon, everyone. Stormy B Man comes before you once again. And for any of you that had a chance to join me yesterday with my tribute to Bruce Lee, because November 27th happened to be Bruce Lee's birthday, he would have been 85 years old had he lived from the time that he passed away, July 20th, 1973, till yesterday. He would have made 85 years. He was one of those gentlemen that said he never wanted to grow old. He didn't think that he would live a long life because of how he attacked life head on when he walked the earth. So we had a great chance to do kind of a review and a tribute to him. And it's funny that the birthday fell on a Thanksgiving. So we gave thanks also to his contributions to the mighty genre of Kung Fu films. If you didn't get a chance to check that live out, please go back and catch the replay of it, done with very much a great deal of respect and acknowledgement for what he was able to do. It could have been a lot more intricate and involved, but there are plenty of people out here now who are sharing the experience of Lei Xulong, the little dragon, and there's room for everyone to try to not only acknowledge what the legendary martial artist brought to cinema, but to see where the genre can improve going forward from there. So let's see who we got in our chat before we get to rumbling. We got Freedom's March out there. What's good with you, brother? Good to see you out there. Peace to you. Shogun 76, the Shogun of Harlem, is in the building this afternoon, saying salute my brothers. Your Foo brothers. Don't forget the Foo. Huh? Yeah. And then we got Columbia out there. What's good with you? Salute to you. Smash the like button as you come into the building. Don't forget to share the content and tell a friend, because this is something that we do over here with a lot of enthusiasm. And just as I take note in the Nerds show that I produce, I'm very serious about my Kung Fu as well. So just know that this is what we're doing, and we're going to take it to the max each and every time. You know, having this day to be able to come to you early like this is great, because normally I'm not able to do this, but I'm off from work today, so I had a chance to, let me do a live. And I thought I would do that and come out and share that time, because with so much boxing going on in the world today right now, the boxing game is really calling my attention. But when I get a chance, I will produce the Kung Fu content. That's what I will try to bring for you guys. So, that being said, also don't forget to take time out to follow me on Rumble. I've pinned the link to the Rumble channel and app in the chat there. We're trying to grow to be able to transfer the audience over that way, so that we can produce that copyright-free content and not deal with the scrutiny of what transpires over on Google and YouTube. So that's just a reminder. There have been plenty of people so far to follow me over there, but I would like the numbers to increase, because there will be a shift in how we present. YouTube, when I'm able to make the move like I would like to, they will, receive what I want to output on their network. And guess what? It'll be far less because they did this. They took someone who was doing wholesome content and everything, and they tried to squeeze my throat and, treat me quite crappily. And that's okay, because, strength and honor is what we're about here on the STORMYBMAN'S channel, huh? That's what we're about. And we like to lead by example. So, let's get into talking about our genres of the Kung Fu film. As I have gone through my notes, I have about 13 subgenres that fall under the category of Kung Fu films. Actually 14 when I think about it, because I just mentioned the Japanese aspect of martial art films, the Shambara, swordplay films through the Japanese culture. What I've come up with, and hear me out, because even some of you may have considered an additional genre or subgenre to add. But right now, there's 14. First of all, we have the wuxia. Okay, and the wuxia is, of course, the sword play, all types of sword films. Heroic sword play, romantic sword play, fantasy sword play, what would we call night films. That falls all under that category of sword play. Then we have what's called the bashers. That's a European term that was put upon the films of the late 60s and early 70s that saw hand-to-hand combat without weapons. And it usually typified fighters fighting with their hands and fists, kicking, punching, with the hokey sound effects that were added to the films because it sounds like someone being bashed. You know, the sound effects of psh, 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 you know, that kind of stuff. It really made it easy to describe. Oh, let's go check out some bashers. You understand? So that's what that is. And it's quite entertaining. No one did sound effects like the early 70s Hong Kong films. Just tremendous, weird sound effects that you would hear during the action scenes. Another subgenre would be shapes. Now, shapes came into being after several years beyond the bashers because we needed something fresh. So fight choreographers for films would seek to bring in what they would call shapes. Now, shapes can be categorized with everything that takes the style variants of martial arts, whether it's Hung Gar, Choi La Foot, whether it's Shaolin, fist styles, animal styles, traditional, different like martial arts under Kung Fu that we may not know, along with the Taekwondo and Hapkido and all of those arts, Judo, Karate, all of that fall under that with shapes. And kata forms that would be displayed during fight scenes because they would find ways to take a kata that a martial artist practices and masters and bring that into choreography where they can make what was, because a kata is like a routine of performing movements in a particular style of martial arts, but it's with no opponent, but it's an imagined opponent or imagined way of producing movements, hand gestures, traps, things like that, takedowns, all of that, kicks, punches. But imagine a fight choreographer being able to incorporate that into an actual scene where they're doing these movements and making it entertaining for a viewing audience. That's why we have standout people who have done this over time. Sammo Hung, Lau Kao Yang, Lau Kao Wing, Yuan Wu Ping, Chan Long, so many different people, Jackie Chan. There have been so many choreographers throughout the years. There's so many that I feel bad that all of their names don't come to mind at this immediate moment, but I love the fact that the versatility is there. Tong Wai, Tong Gai, just so many. Derek Yee, so many, you guys, so many. But that's what it's all about, you know, to be able to be versatile and to have performers who can actually execute the movements to give a sensational experience of action cinematically. We got 225 Boxing Talk in the building saying peace and blessings, Stormy. Salute to you. And Shogun says, I like the ones with the heavy training montage and the hero kicks the bad guy's butt. And he says, like the 36 Chambers. Yeah, that had become one of the elements of the cinematic experience to take you through what a fighter needs to do to train to become an expert, and he needs to apply that expertise to defeat the villain in the film, or to defeat the master boss or the person that they have to get over in the end. A very integral part of some of the martial arts genre. Team-up films feature that a great deal. Team-ups are an integral part of the martial art films. That's usually when you take two warriors who may differ in their fighting styles, like northern kicks, southern fist. You know, you have a fist fighting hand expert and a foot fighting expert where they use their kicks to the max. And usually those two would either team up to face a baddie who is capable of handling both styles equally with a specific style. One person that comes to mind is Wong Jing Lee, who would often play villains, and his martial arts were so dynamic, the Korean fighter could always take on more than one opponent and make it look easy. The choreographers didn't have a hard time because he was more than capable of doing most of the action that was called upon him, with the exception of like acrobatics. And usually when he performed his acrobatics, that's when he would have someone stand in for him, like Yuan Biao or one of the Samo stunt team acrobats. And by the way, that's another genre and subgenre, the acrobatic thing, where we saw the Venoms come into play, and they are actually a part of several genres, because when they came on the scene, most of those guys are from Taiwan. When they came on the scene, the Venoms, they usually perform acrobatics, weaponry. They also perform stunts of like circus acts, like juggling and balancing and things of that nature. They were well-schooled fighters and prominent in their skill sets that really set them apart. And that's why they had almost a decade where they were on top. Not only just with the films that they starred in, but the action and choreography that they provided, because the Venoms, those guys usually choreographed their own work. It wasn't an outsider who choreographed them. They were so skilled that once they started starring in the films, they would do their own choreography. Interestingly, they were discovered by legendary director Chang Chi, and he would put them in some of his Taiwan independent produced under the Shaw umbrella films, and he snuck them in. You will see young Venoms in films like Seven-Man Army and Marco Polo, which is the Four Assassins. Also films like, what else am I thinking of? There's quite a few. Some of the Shaolin Avengers with Alexander Fuxing and Chi Kwa Chung. you would see these guys in the background, and they would be like stuntmen, taking blows and getting beat up and stuff. Those were the Venoms, and they were cutting their teeth early until they found their way to the forefront. Interestingly, Shaw Brothers, and I kind of explained this before, when they had Jimmy Wong Yu as their #1 star, he was someone that once his success was found, he wanted to do things independently on his own, or write his own ticket, so to speak. And that wasn't the formula for Run Run Shaw, how he ran his company. So he had a breach of his contract with Shaw, and he had to leave Hong Kong as far as making the films. He went to Taiwan, and Run Run had adopted a different position. Instead of making or looking for a major single star, he started making multiple stars who would get a bulk of scripts that they could star in certain films, and maybe they'll star in a couple of films a year, even more than a couple, but they were the featured guys, and usually they had roles where they were teamed up against someone else that had equal status. And so it was spreading the fame, so to speak, and taking away from the single dominant heroic element. And by doing that, he staved off a lot of other up-and-comers choosing to go for the independents. However, some of them migrated when their contracts were up to some of the independent companies that were out there, like in Taiwan, or even Golden Harvest Studios, which opened in 1970 just across the street from Shaw Studios. So there was an opportunity for a bit of interplay where though Shaw was the major studio and they had the beautiful sets and wonderful costume design and all of that great production quality, but the actors, when they shifted away from Shaw Brothers, some of them enjoyed more of an independence, how they were either paid or treated as a star outside of the music, the movie industry that was Shaw Brothers. So there was a lot of stuff that was Renaissance time in the early 70s, because the Shaw had been on top and been strong for so many years. What I like also that was born of the genre is the fact that certain films became classics because when they were benchmarked, they did something special for that run of a couple of years, and then something changed. Like, if you take veteran choreographer, when I was trying to think of other choreographers' names a little while ago, take Han Yin Kit, who is known for his choreography in films such as Come Drink With Me, I think The Dragon Inn, also Bruce Lee's The Big Boss. Han Yin Kit was a former opera performer where he brought his martial prowess from that training into the film industry, and he was very innovative with certain ideas. Like, Han Yin Kit introduced the trampoline stunt for swordsman films and later bashers, and the trampoline stunts were usually something where you would see fighters ascend into the clouds, seemingly that they jump 20 feet off of the ground and stuff like that, bouncing off of a trampoline, jumping from a ladder to the trampoline, and the camera catching your angle of your ascension, or you're flying through the air, or what have you, based upon camera position, and action with fill-in shots, foot hitting the face or punches flying through, things like that. Han Yin Kit brought that type of action to the screen and those ideas. And he was very good at it. Sometimes it was better than using wires, although in the Hong Kong industry of martial art films, wires were used a great deal anyway. You know, it's like it's just something that they did going back into the 30s when they were making films. And most of the time when you see the martial artists in a film jump over a big wall or jump up on into a roof, they're actually running the camera backwards, that they're descending down. Okay, but the way it's shot, it's made to look like they're jumping up and over a wall. Just imagine if we could really actually do that, right? It's like, how many times have you seen in a kung fu movie, they're chasing somebody and the person runs around and he sees a building and he's like, and he jump up on the balcony, or he jumps over that little Chinese wall. You know, I call it Chinese wall because of the architecture of how those houses and the clay tiles are made on the rooftops, and they jump over there. It's so funny to see those scenes. Some of them are done so well that you don't even really, you can't tell that the film is run backwards, right? Because it looks like, oh, he's running and then he, you know, but sometimes when they just go, it's like, you know, you can tell they jump down and then they look. But, you know, they got innovative with it. And then when Han Yin Kit introduced the fact that they could bounce off the trampoline and jump over somebody's head and stuff like that, that really made the action look awesome, because the trampoline is just out of camera shot, right? They'll show like a 3/4 view and the guy leaps, and they edit the film where he leaps down onto the tramp and the tramp propels him up. So all you see is, on the edited part, you see the fighter leaping up and going over, but you don't see the part where he leaps down onto the trampoline. So they cut that out and they edit it to where it's like he leaped over. It's like, you know. So all of that stuff is really cool. But you learn this behind the scenes stuff after watching the films, and you learn who the actors are and everything, and that's great stuff, you know. And it's very entertaining. So, and then cranking the camera for the action. Like, there may be intricate hand gestures or foot gestures that they do in the choreographed sequence where they might have to undercrank the camera so the action will speed up and look more lively, or they'll overcrank it and make it look slower, you know. One of the great imagery scenes that I can recall is in Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury, the Chinese Connection, when he's fighting the Russian guy at the end of the film, and then he begins to start doing the deadly hand signal like this, and he's waving his hands like this and moving them around, and the way that the special effect captures his hands, it makes his hands look like they're multiple hands moving around in a slow motion type deal. I still don't know how they did that effect, because only his hands and arm are moving like that, but the rest of him is in place and still. So how they did that imagery, I don't know, because Jackie Chan tried to do it in New Fist of Fury. There's a sequence where he's fighting, I think it's Chen Sang at the end of the film, and he does that, you know, because it's supposed to be a sequel to Fist of Fury. It's called New Fist of Fury. But when Jackie is doing it, it looks really like cheap and shoddy. But when Bruce Lee did it, you know, in Fist of Fury, aka Chinese Connection, when they did that, I can remember when I first saw that film in the theater, and he broke out into that movement of moving his hands like this, the whole audience was like, whoa! It was like nobody has seen that before. I don't know if it was because Bruce had actually really, really fast hands in life, and maybe they filmed him doing it real fast, and then they slowed it down and they slowed it down to it got multiple hands. I don't know how that sequence was shot, but if anybody out there knows, please share it with me, because I would love to know the answer to that. But it was an amazing experience watching that in the cinema for the very first time, and he did that. The entire audience just erupted with like astonishment, because it was so cool. It was a visual that we hadn't seen before. Yeah. Kind of reminds me of like years later when Christopher Reeve was playing Superman, and I think it was Superman 2, when they showed Clark running through that alley and doing the transformation from Clark Kent to Superman, just like in the pages of the comics, where you could see he's running, he rips his shirt open, and then the next frame it might have his shirt coming off, and the next frame is like you can see a little bit of the blue costume and it's a blur, and then the next thing he's taking off flying, he's Superman. And it's like in Superman 2, the way they shot that, it was so cool. Clark Kent running through that alley and taking his suit off and turns into Superman. It was really well done cinematically, and that was back in 1978 when they did that. So I don't know, man, but sometimes the special effects can do so much to enhance the viewing experience. It's really awesome when that happens. Talking more about the genres, you have the ensemble genre, and that's when there's multiple people. Like you'll have Tai Lung, David Chang, Chi Kwa Chun, Chen Kwa Tai, Alexander Fuxing. All these guys, there'll be like 5 of them or 6 of them, right? And then they'll have like 5 or 6 dudes that they gotta fight, villains. And that was something different that wasn't done before, because usually you have the long swordsman or the long kung fu specialist or whatever taking on an assortment of villains. But the one-on-one ensemble pieces where somebody has to save the rest of the crew, he got to sacrifice his life and all of that, that was a great part of the genre as well. So when we talk about the lone hero, like when Lo Lei played in 5 Fingers of Death, aka King Boxer, he was the lone hero in that film. He learned the Iron Fist technique. They showed him, just like Shogun was saying, he likes to see the training sequences. They were showing him sticking his hands in those hot coals or beads of rock or gravel, whatever it was, which was supposed to strengthen his hands and the skin on his hands and everything, so he could learn the Iron Fist technique. Now, from what I understand, sticking your hand in the hot sands and stuff like that, what they did, that did to a certain degree develop a hardness on your hands and everything. I would imagine though, when you become elderly or whatever, you set up with tons of arthritis in your hand, but cinematically they always made it look great. And like Shogun said, those training sequences were pretty awesome when the guys would get in there and do what they were doing, with that kind of fare. It was just something. And Lo Lei, when he played in the film King Boxer, he did a great job of conveying that on screen, being able to put his hands back and palm fists into the camera and stuff, where they had the red lens on his hands to make it look like they were glowing red with power. Something straight out of the comic books, right? Like the Iron Fist, it's like smoldering. It's like, but that's what they did, man, and that stuff was really cool to see on film. Another dynamic of movies from the 70s for the genre was the comedy film. And we saw that take place when Jackie Chan finally hit his mark running with films like Snake and the Eagle's Shadow, and then later Drunken Master. Snake and the Eagle's Shadow, produced by Ng Tze-Yuen and choreographed by Yuen Wu-Ping, showed Jackie at his best, doing all of the acrobatics that some of the regular actors just could not generate for the choreographer. And then Jackie was pretty good with the humor. He understood that the success of Bruce Lee was something that was embedded in the audiences. So in order to be successful, you needed to do something different. And that's what he did. Jackie focused on being not the baddest dude in the world, but being a happy-go-lucky guy who ends up being successful and ends up coming out a winner by mistake even, you know. It's like, that's how he did it. And he was a lot opposite. He showed pain and vulnerabilities and got hurt and stuff like that, whereas Bruce was like invincible and all of that, right? So audiences kind of like lean toward that. And guess what? Just like when Bruce passed away, there were what I called a new subgenre of films called Brucesploitation, where they took actors who would imitate what Bruce used to do cinematically. They would imitate his characters that he portrayed on film, his mannerisms, the war cries he would let out, all of that kind of stuff fell into Brucesploitation. Some of them even wore the same type of outfits that he wore in movies, like the famous yellow tracksuit that he intended to wear during the film of Game of Death. Just continued to copy his style, right? And that genre existed for many years. They're still doing Brucesploitation films now with new generation of imitators, right? But that became a subgenre during the mid to late 70s and early 80s that just kind of like, sometimes you shake your head and all these guys changed their names. Bruce Lowe, Bruce Lay, Bruce Lai, L-A-I, Bruce Lai, L-I, just all different kinds of stuff. Lee Bruce, I mean, just craziness. But that was a subgenre within itself, where, you know, Brucesploitation. So another genre would be, like I said, the comedy with Jackie Chan. And I didn't want to get off track when I was saying that. When Jackie got successful doing that, then you had other traditional kung fu film stars who starred in swordplay wuxia films. They starred in bashers, like Lee Yi-min. Lee Yi-min, we didn't know that he was a talented acrobatic fighter because he starred in the bashers and the swordplay films with like Shaw Brothers and some of the independent Taiwan martial art films with Mark Long and Jack Long. He would be in films like Seven Commandments of Kung Fu or the Seven Grand Masters and stuff like that, Lee Yi-min. And turns out that he could do the acrobatics and stuff too, so he started doing knockoffs of Jackie's success, right? He would be doing stuff, he'd meet the old master teach him some stuff, and next thing you know, he's flipping around and doing all this stuff like Jackie Chan. And he even wore his hair long like Jackie for a while. Lee Yi-min was kind of like, they say that he was really a really tripped out guy too. I don't know if this is true or not, but they say they would go into territories to film these movies in certain towns and stuff, that he was always hitting on the ladies, right? Lee Yi-min. They said that, you know, you look up and he's got somebody's woman with him. He was something else. But Lee Yi-min was a guy who did comedy kung fu films. And then a little bit later, we saw guys like Billy Chong, who was Indonesian, I believe. He came into the mix in the early 80s. And Billy Chong was a pretty darn good martial artist that look good on film. His kicks, his punches have speed and power and snap to them. For whatever his reason, he didn't just catch on. Even though they tried to put him in some serious martial art films, like A Hard Way to Die, also known as Sun Dragon. Billy Chong was a pretty darn good fighter on screen, and it's kind of hard to figure out like why he didn't catch on like others did. I don't know if because he wasn't truly from Hong Kong. I don't know what the reason was, but I have a few films of his in my collection, not as many as I would like to have, because he's done some great stuff. He's done some great stuff, Billy Chong. Let me see here. We got 225 Boxing Talk says, those front flips in Jackie Chan Prime, my goodness, were beautiful. Jackie is a guy who, you know what was interesting about him? He had the right size. He was a little bit bigger than Bruce Lee, okay? I think when Bruce Lee passed away and Jackie did, some stunt work for a couple of his films like Enter the Dragon and Fist of Fury, Jackie might have just been 19 or 20 years old at the time. Bruce Lee was like 32 when he passed, so Jackie was very young. But by 1978, when he was making films like Drunken Master and Snake in the Eagle Shadow, his body started filling out a little bit. And he had a strong build because all those years in the opera school training with the Seven Little Fortunes, he had built up himself physically, not with muscles, but just that type of training and everything puts your body in a certain kind of thing where like guys like Yuen Wah, who was also a part of the Seven Little Fortunes along with Jackie, Yuen Biao, Sammo Hung, all of those guys come up through that opera troupe together, the Seven Little Fortunes. Yuen Wah was Bruce Lee's body double in Enter the Dragon, also in Fist of Fury, because he had a similar build to Bruce Lee, but a kind of like Yuen Wah didn't have that matinee idol face, but his body was built strong and lean and everything. So they were kind of close in their physical build, he and Bruce. That's why Bruce picked him to be his stuntman. So, yeah. But a couple of more of those genres would be the traditional films. Those are the films that will take place at the turn of the century, the early 1900s and stuff like that, where they're wearing the traditional Chinese robes and everything, or they're wearing the key with the braid and everything from the Ming Dynasty. Those films, those are traditional. So you would see a lot of stories. They could be wuxia in a traditional backdrop. So that's kind of a sub-genre of a genre. You know what I'm saying? So we would see that. And then we, of course, had the modern day films where they running around with their blue jeans and wearing those hard shoes like Stax, in the 70s and stuff, tight t-shirts and stuff, and they fighting. And why in those films, when they run around, you could hear the shoes on the concrete. Like, it's bad enough in the Kung Fu films that's traditional when they're walking with those little soft shoes, right? And they on the ground. It's like, and then when they in the city and stuff, smoking the cigarettes. All them dudes smoke cigarettes too. Cigarette hanging out of their mouth. Hey, you wanna die? It's like, God damn it, you wanna die? And they fight, man. 20-minute fight scenes. I'm telling you, if somebody kicked me in the face wearing some damn platform shoes, I'm out like a light. Don't even need no sleeping pills or nothing. Cause them shoes, if you grew up in the 70s where they had platform shoes, and you see them Chinese dudes, they could do kung fu and then kick you in the face with them damn shoes, man, them dudes get hit in the face and they still fighting for 15 minutes. Get the hell out of here, man. That ain't gonna happen in nobody's life. But it's like, you know, those movies, man, I'm telling you. And I used to talk to this brother that lived in my neighborhood. He worked security, and his name was Al. I haven't seen him in many years. I don't live in that area no more. But he used to always talk kung fu movies with me. And, you know, I used to, like, make dub VHS tapes for him. I was like, hey, you seen this one? No, I ain't seen it. I said, I'll make you a copy. You remember how easy it used to be to dub VHS tapes? So I used to make him some VHS tapes of kung fu films. And he's like, man, don't give me none of them movies where they running around in what do you call it, bell bottoms and them plaid shirts and stuff. He said, I don't like those. I don't like those movies. They run around with them stacks on and stuff. That's what he used to say. We'd be cracking up laughing about that, man. That was crazy, though. But, man, it's like the genres are crazy, bro. They are crazy. Then there's another genre, Shaolin, where films take place with a Shaolin backdrop, or there's an attack on Shaolin, or there is disciples coming from Shaolin, going out into the regular world or whatever, and all different kind of stories like that. An emperor wanting to send his army into Shaolin and all of that. Shaolin versus Wu-Tang, huh? Two factions of temple dwellers against each other. Then we had the other genre of ninja films. Yeah. And yeah, 225 boxing talk. That's what he would tell me. Don't give me them where they wearing them plaid shirts and them stacks and bell bottoms. And I'm gonna tell you something. In the late 70s, there was tons of those films, man. Some of them were pretty good, like the Iron Dragon Strikes Back. If you guys watch that movie, I recommend it. I did my review of it on this channel and everything. The Iron Dragon Strikes Back. That's a Ho Chung Tao film. Ho Chung Tao is also known as Bruce Lee. I don't like to call him that. I like to call him by his real name, Hun Cho Tao. Listen, that film right there, they wearing stacks and blue jeans and stuff in that film. But man, let me tell you something. That's a doggone good film, man. That's a doggone good film. So make sure you check that one out. If you haven't, I've been recommending that movie. Yeah. 225 says, I saw that Warlords you recommended too, Stormy. What'd you think of it, 225? What did you think of Warlords? Huh? Let me know. I told you that film was good. And guess what that's based on? That's a remake of Shaw Brothers' 1973 film, The Blood Brothers, aka Chinese Vengeance, with Tai Lung, Chen Kwa Tai, and David Chang. That's the remake. And Jet Li in The Warlords is playing Tai Lung's character. David Chang is playing Takashi Kanashiro's character. And Andy Lau is playing Chen Kwa Tai's character. Yeah. There you go. So that's a remake, man, and a damn good one, too. I'm so glad I have that one in my collection. I haven't watched it in a few years. I think I'll watch it again and maybe do a review of it on here on the channel because it's a doggone good film. And that's not a kung fu film per se. There's fighting in there, but those are warlords from like the 1700s or something when they were on battleships and stuff like that. And that film has elements of a very good story, well written, very good acting. I was surprised that Jet Li was able to raise his acting level to the degree that he did. Do you remember 225, the scene where Takashi Kanashiro was following Jet Li and Chen Kwantai's wife, right? And they got on that little sampan. That's like a boat, right? Where they, you know, it's a little small boat. He saw them get on the sampan together, and he was watching because he had been suspecting that they were having an affair, but he followed them and he was watching from the bushes and stuff. And when Jet Li was on the boat with old girl and he looked out into the distance and he saw old boy, and he saw him with old boy's wife, and Jet Li looked at him and he pulled the shade down on the sampan. Jet Li was like, he pulled that shade down like, yeah, you saw us, but what you gonna do about it? I remember when I saw that movie for the first time, man. I was like, oh man, he too cold with it. He too cold with it, man. I was like, man, that was straight up. And dude was like, they were supposed to be blood brothers, all three of them, right? But Jet Li, because they saved Jet Li's life, remember? And it's like, he come up and he gonna take old boy woman, man. Like, if y'all like Jet Li movies and you ain't never seen Warlords, that's the recommendation for your ass right there. 225 Boxing Talk could tell you. I recommended that film a few weeks ago, and everybody that watched it since then, you're about the third person, 225, to say, hey man, I got a chance to watch it. I think Hen Dog told me too recently that he finally watched it, man. Jet Li was something else, man. And then as he ascended and got more power, he was like, he didn't care about his blood brothers no more. He was like, y'all can sit on this. Man, I'm telling you, I keep telling you guys, listen, these films are awesome. They really are. Sometimes it's just like, it take you just to sit down and watch that shit and you be like, man, I can't believe that this happened. It's like, yeah, buddy, it happened. Man, he says, I said the same thing. He cold-blooded. Yeah, I told you, man. That film right there, Jet Li was something else, bro. I would have never thought that Jet Li would be in a movie like that where he just was like a villain, huh? Just a straight up villain. He was a straight up villain in that film, man. Yeah, he say that he played that well. He sure did. He played that role very well. I'm telling you, man. Shoot. Jet Li, man. Cause you know you used to Jet Li playing the heroic guy, right? Easy going dude and everything. This wasn't no Romeo Must Die Jet Li. This was like nuts and guts Jet Li, huh? Sending them dudes out to kill old boy because he wanted his wife. Don't let him come back alive. Man. But that's why I like these films, man. They're entertaining. And the other thing about the Hong Kong film industry, they don't always believe in the good guy winning, huh? That's another thing. It's like the good guy might win the fight, but he still might die. It's like you just don't know. You just don't know. And it's like the good guy get the girl. You can be a good guy and still don't get the girl. It don't matter. It's like they be putting flips and twists on the plot in the Hong Kong films, which is another reason why I really love them, because it's like, that's real life right there. You know, the good guy always wins and stuff. Not in Hong Kong movies, bro. And then they also put a flip on it, like the girl go for the goofiest dude. Like Sammo has played some roles in some films, and the ladies be going for him. And I don't think that's Sammo's ego playing to that, but he's a very good character actor, that he could play this undesirable, but the women still, or the woman in the film, the script calls for her to fall for him. And he'd be like, oh, you like me? I'm just fat and goofy or whatever. And she'd be like, oh, you know. And see, Jackie was a player. You know, once he got to be real top #1 Hong Kong star or whatever, Jackie was a player. He had all the ladies and stuff. But in his movies, he tried to pretend like he didn't like the ladies, or he was shy or something like that. Man, Jackie was. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Man, I tell you, boy. But yeah, so those are the 14 genres and subgenres of the martial art films, you know, and, you know, I can do profiles on each genre, right? But I wanted to present it to you guys to let you know. So just once again to review, we have wuxia, which is sword play and knight type films. We have the bashers, which is the hand-to-hand combat without weapons. They fight with their hands and feet, you know, using, you know, their kung fu skills. Then we have the shapes films, where they're using styles, specific styles, taekwondo, hungar, chola foot, all of that kind of stuff, you know, hapkido. Those are shapes. We have the ensemble films. That's when you have multiple players in the film, where there's Fu Xing and David Chang, Tai Lung, the Venoms. All of these guys are in one movie. That's an ensemble piece. And usually several of them will die, huh? And it's usually somebody you don't expect to die. It's like, you know, they switch it up on you sometimes. There are certain characters who always die in those films, like Lo Mang. Lo Mang, the muscular mantis fist fighting Venom, he always dies in his movies, don't he? It's like, why did kill Lo Mang? But that, you know, and he's a fist fighter too. He don't, not much on the kicks and stuff, but he's very good with his hands and, you know, fist fighting, which is that they give him the mantis or crane or something like that, fist fighting styles. Then you got the traditional films. The traditional, that's when they're set at the turn of the century or in the Ming Dynasty and all that. They wear the queue, that's the braid and everything, huh? And you got the Shaolin films, huh? Whether somebody's going to the Shaolin Temple, leaving the Shaolin Temple, is something going down at the Shaolin Temple, or you see a fighter who's from the Shaolin Temple, huh? Or Wu-Tang Temple. You see those, huh? And then you got the team-up films. That's like when you see the likes of Chi Kwa Chung and Fu Xing, or Chen Kwa Tai and Fu Xing teaming up, huh? Those guys will team up for films like Heroes 2, which is one of my favorites of these two guys, Fu Xing and Chen Kwai Tai. The Heroes 2. This was made like a year after Bruce Lee died. And Heroes 2 is a very good kung fu film, and it shows Chen Kwai Tai, playing Hansi Kwan, who's a real historical figure, and Fu Xing is playing Feng Seiyu. And the movie got a very good soundtrack. Man, that's a bad movie right there. So, let me recommend it. That's my recommendation off of today's show. Heroes 2, starring Chen Kwai Tai and Alexander Fu Xing. If you haven't seen it, it's a Shaw Brothers film from 1974. These two guys are awesome in that. It's been remastered. It's on Blu-ray now. You can see it on, I think you can see it on Amazon Prime, I think. But it's out there. Check out Heroes 2. That's my recommendation for today's show. But yeah, Teamup films. Those guys are awesome in that. Then you got the acrobatic films. And those are the films that star guys like Jackie Chan. You heard me mention Lee Yee Min and Jack Long and Mark Long, the 7 Grandmasters. Those are those guys doing all those flips and everything. You got Yuan Biao, who's been in films like Knockabout with Liang Jiaran, a.k.a. Beardy. Those guys, acrobats. Then you got the comedy kung fu films, which there's a lot of that with some of Jackie's work, comedy, Sammo Hung's work, comedy, you know, so it's like you could really do it. Then you got the horror films. The horror films is another subgenre where Sammo has done some tremendous horror films. Billy Chong did one, Kung Fu Zombie. That's a whole nother subgenre. Then you got the modern film, and that's them guys running around with the t-shirts and blue jeans and wearing them hard shoes. Smoking them cigarettes. Hey, get him! Right! It's like... Then you got the ninja films. Huh? One of the greatest ninja films ever made was Chinese Super Ninjas, a.k.a. 5 Element Ninjas by Shaw Brothers. Man, that's an awesome ninja flick right there. Awesome. Yeah. And then you got the Chambara, which is the Japanese warrior of swordplay, along with the Ronin and samurais in there, telling those stories. And then lastly, you got the Brucesploitation genre, which they got so many kind of Brucesploitation films, guys acting like Bruce Lee, playing Bruce Lee's characters, playing Bruce Lee, doing takeoff on films that Bruce Lee made and all that, making sequels to Bruce Lee films. It's like that's a Brucesploitation is a genre of its own, but as a subgenre under martial art flicks, kung fu movies. There you go. So like I said, there's 14 that I broke down there for you guys, man. And you know, that's what it is. But I tell you, man, it's like you can have a lot of fun with this. But Heroes 2, that's my recommendation for you guys. That's my recommendation. If you haven't checked that out, please do, and come back and let Stormy B-Man know what your thoughts are regarding it, because it's the type of martial art film that gives you a little bit of everything. Good fighting in there, good acting in there by Fu Xing and Chen Kwai Tai. They were great as a duo in team-ups. So they were great doing what they did in that, you know what I mean? So I like those two brothers when they get on the screen together. So yeah. But yeah, but you know, we're coming to the end of another great Kung Fu Film Focus. I don't like to be on here all day with this. I usually do about, 60 minutes or so, give or take a couple minutes. And I appreciate everybody that came out. Columbia says Brucesploitation is horrible. Yeah, it is. Especially if you really like Bruce Lee. It's like all of that stuff. That's why I don't like to call those guys by their screen names that they've been, I like to call them what their real names are. Like Ho Chung Tao was known as Bruce Lee. Wong King Lung was known as Bruce Lee. And Dragon Lee has a Russian name that I can't pronounce. That's the only reason that I'll call him Dragon Lee, because I can't pronounce that Russian Korean name that he has. That's his real name. But no, I don't like to call those guys by those fake screen names. It's like it's an insult to me to have them running around here and you refer to them as who they say they are and everything. But yeah, but that's all I got for you guys this afternoon. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. We got a winter storm headed this way over the next couple of days. It's supposed to snow a lot, so I'll get a chance maybe to pack in and watch some Kung Fu and eat some popcorn and enjoy. You know what I mean? But you guys keep tuned in. Please share the content. Hit that like button if you didn't hit it on your way in. Hit it on your way out. Join me over on Rumble. Please become a follower at my Rumble app, man, because the link is pinned in the chat. We're trying to do some great things here. And once again, thank you for those who helped push me over this past week, over 300 subs to the channel. That's what we're trying to do, man. We're trying to keep it going, keep it moving and growing. So with that, we are on out of here. I want to say shout out to the mighty LDBC, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace to everybody out there. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.